This week on Arizona Illustrated, a U of A coach's Paralympic quest. The story of Katie Lee and the canyon she loved and lost. A preview of 3 open studios and carbon dating the Shroud of Turin in 1988. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. In August, thousands of athletes from around the world will be in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to compete at the 2016 Summer Olympics. 1 month later, another group of athletes will also descend on Brazil, participants in the Paralympic Games. Several athletes from Arizona hope to qualify for this international sporting event, including a University of Arizona graduate and coach.
My name is Barton. I'm the head coach of wheelchair tennis at the University of Arizona. Okay, work on your apex right from the beginning, right? It was a transition job for me. I was working at the university and a job opened up as a coach. I was playing tennis at the time and I had made several USA teams and it was a natural fit for me, so that's how I moved into the coaching role with the program. The Adaptive Athletics department here at the U of A has 6 teams. We are the largest, most comprehensive adaptive athletics program in the country related to a university. We have athletes from all over the country and all over the world that come here to train. We provide athletic opportunities and academic opportunities for these athletes.
These athletes are competitive. They train seriously. You know, they're hardcore. This isn't a hobby. You know, it's not recreation. For people like Brian, this is his job, right? To go out and represent the U.S. at the Paralympics and all over the world. And we're proud to have him here on staff and working with our student athletes. But yeah, this is hardcore, right? So we expect a lot of our athletes, and you know, and they bring it.
I began playing wheelchair tennis in 1998 when I came to the University of Arizona. And so I've traveled the world many times. It's been a great sport for me. I've been an athlete my whole life. I played sports in high school, basketball, track, golf. After high school, I maintained an active lifestyle. I was involved in a car accident in 1995. I was a backseat passenger in a vehicle, and we crashed into a light pole, kind of sideways, and in the impact, I broke my neck. It was pretty much the only injury I had, but it left me paralyzed from the chest down. It also affected the use of my hands. And so after my accident, I was 21 years old when it happened, and I spent the first year after my accident really not knowing what to do. I kind of had lost all of my activities, and you know, I was pretty bored for that first year. And luckily, I found a group of people that were playing wheelchair tennis at Michigan State University, and they invited me out to come try it. And the first time I was on court, my goal was just to hit a ball over the net, you know, to make one ball over the net, and I was able to do that, and I just fell in love with the sport. In 2012, I made my first Paralympics. I had the honor to represent our country in London. I got a win at that games, and it was awesome. This shirt is one of the shirts that I got from the Paralympics in London. So we have, you know, our uniforms and award ceremony outfits, and this is one of the shirts that I got, and I kind of like this one. It sort of has the superhero logo of USA on it. But I'm proud to wear this because it means something to me, and I'm proud of my country, and it's, you know, it's a real honor to put something like this on and know what it means. I'm very excited about my opportunity to go to Brazil and compete in my second Paralympics. It's a tough road, so yeah, every day is training and getting ready for those events. I need to get my ranking up to the top 12 in the world, and I'm at 14 right now, so it's definitely doable, but I still have some work to do to get there. I need a little luck and draws, and I need to play well at the tournaments that I'm going to.
There you go.
I think that it's awesome that we have a program here and that we're getting to play, and it's meant a lot to me for my college career, and I think it's awesome that the Paralympics are this like big looming goal, and that they exist, and I'm excited to watch it and just kind of be inspired through that.
I am so impressed because it's one thing to have the strokes, which, I mean, able-bodied or wheelchair players have that, but there's different movement patterns in wheelchair tennis that's way different than able-bodied. And plus, a lot of these players were paralyzed, so they're not used to like they didn't grow up in the chair, so they had to relearn different, because the patterns are different.
Wheelchair tennis became my identity. I identify myself as an athlete. I'm also a coach, but I train every day, you know, for my sport. I think about it all the time.
I think Brian, you know, he's just an inspiration. He's been self-motivating. He's really pushed me to pursue my tennis and my degree, and he's just been great.
The accident that I was involved in 1995, it left me as a quadriplegic, and luckily my two friends that were in the front seat, I'm thankful that neither of them were hurt. You know, it was an accident, and accidents happen, so I guess that's how you deal with them. That really matters.
Brian Barton made the USA national team and is competing at the Japan Open this month. He'll find out whether he's going to compete at the Paralympic Games next week. And for more on the 2016 Paralympic Games, visit Paralympic.org. In the 1940s and 50s, Katie Lee was an actress and singer. Then Lee began to explore the Colorado River, more specifically Glen Canyon, a place that she says resurrected her spirit and melted her heart, and a place that only a few years later would be under 500 feet of water.
The first thing I say every morning when I get is, that is my favorite word, my favorite Old English word. It says it feels good, it's a great word. My name is Katie Lee, and I'm probably best known for my bad mouth and my activism. I wish I were recognized more for my writing, because I don't think my writing's bad at all.
In her 95 years, Katie Lee has found recognition for many of her talents. There was a time when she was known as an actress, followed by a decade touring the country as a folk singer. But wherever she went, she felt the pull of the desert she'd known as a child.
I was raised in Tucson. I was so lucky to have a mom and dad, a dad who was like a child, who treated me like a kid because he was a kid, and my mother on the other side, who was the artist in the family, the singer, the teacher. God, how lucky can you get? And they didn't pamper me. I was outdoors all the time. My dad, when I was 12 years old, bought me a Remington octagon barrel shotgun and taught me how to shoot, how to use it, how not to use it, and how never to use it. And during the war, I kept my family in rabbits and quail. I used to shoot the heads off quail. I must have been pretty good, because not anymore. Believe me, I can hardly hang on to my coffee cup.
As a young woman, Katie tried her luck in Hollywood, where she worked in film and radio for 6 years. Then, on a visit to her mother in Tucson, Katie saw something that would change her life. A film by her friend, Tad Nichols, about running the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon.
And when I saw that movie, I just said, how do I get there? I can't do that. It was $500 for the upper half and $500 for the lower half. And I was making what? Maybe $20 a week out in Hollywood, no matter what I did. And about 10 o'clock at night, later that month, Tad calls me and he said, you want to run the Grand Canyon? And I said, I can't do that. I told you, you know I don't have that money. And he said, no, you can come for just your food, which is about $50. You pay $50 and bring your guitar and sing to the people on the beach at night. So that's what I did, and that's how I got to the river. But then the river became part of me, and still is, because I don't think I had been anything like the person I am until that river just picked me up and took me along. To me, it's just like life, the way life flows, the way it goes along, and it comes back and it forms eddies, and there you're in this eddy, and you don't know which way to go or what to do. And next thing you know, you're going over rapids, and you just are elated. And then the next thing you know, you're in this calm, calm water, and just sort of swirling around easy, and that's life. You know, that's a river.
While on a river run, Katie fell in love with a stretch of the Colorado called Glen Canyon.
Eden couldn't have touched this place. 125 side canyons, each one of them different. Each one of them with a voice and a look and a feeling of its own. The breezes, they talk to you, and you can talk back and get answers. These floats on the Glen, where there aren't any rapids really, yeah, there's some few that I used to swim through, but it's just a laid-back scene, and you have a chance to look around and get to know the place and understand what makes this do that and what makes that do this, and wow, look at that. And some of the vistas were so beautiful, we just stood there and cried. How come? Here I go.
Katie lost Glen Canyon as she knew it when the Glen Canyon Dam was completed in 1963.
And that's when I started writing articles about it. I started singing, writing songs about it. I put out 2 or 3 CDs about it. And from then on, it was just constantly working to bring down that dam. And I'm still at it. Dam, dam. That's my license plate.
The dam remains, and Katie's activism and anger have never abated.
I feel about that dam just like I've always felt about it. I'd like to blow it up. If I knew how, I'd do that, but I don't know how. And that's probably very fortunate. Rivers are supposed to run. They're not supposed to be dammed up. They're healthy that way. They feed the planet. It's like the veins in your arm full of blood. Okay, you dam them up, what do you get? An aneurysm. And that's what these rivers have. Aneurysms, poor things.
In 1971, Katie settled in the central Arizona mining town of Turin. Today, it's where she writes in a windowless room tucked into her home. It's where she reads the emails and listens to the songs she has inspired.
I think that's so cool. How nice of him to do that for me.
In quiet moments, it's where she looks out over the vast valley below. But despite the roots she's grown, Katie Lee still believes the best way to wake up to life is to venture into the world's wilder places.
When you're out there and you are on your own and you know you have to take care of yourself, all your senses sharpen. Your smell, your sight, your hearing, your touch. Everything comes out of the skin and becomes part of what's around you. And if you can do that, you're going to learn some things about yourself that will keep you from making the wrong choices, that will point a direction for you. All you got to do is listen and look.
Like what you see on Arizona Illustrated? Visit our webpage at azpm.org to watch and share videos from this episode. You'll also find stories from future programs, an easy way to submit your own story idea, an archive of past episodes of Arizona Illustrated, and you'll find everything you need to stay connected with public broadcasting in Southern Arizona. azpm.org. When we see artwork, it's usually completed and on a wall in a gallery or a home. It can be easy to take for granted all the work that went into making it. Well, Tucson has a wide variety of visual and conceptual artists, and once a year they invite all of us into the place where they create, their studios. Here's a peek at 3 open studios.
Why do I do Open Studio Tour? Because it's fun. My work can go into a gallery or into a public space and people can see the finished product of it, but there's so much process involved in what I do with a piece that I love to be able to have the public come in and actually see the piece in progress. I see people just buying something new, using it for 2 months and then throwing it away. And the amount of really usable things that I find in the trash or in alleyways or dumped out in the washes is incredible. And my art is primarily trying to counteract that culture. I like to have a repetition of form, so I need to find enough of the same material before I can really get going on the piece. These are register receipts from a cash register, and these get thrown out constantly. And then it takes a long time to treat each individual piece and process it and get it to be a form. The big white piece there is a bunch of, it's actually vertical blinds from your windows. I started collecting them. That piece took a year. It took about 11.5 months to do. This screw piece here has been about 3 years in progress. I usually have about 3 or 4 different projects going on at the same time, so I can take a break from the one monotonous thing and move on to the next monotonous thing, you know? But I mean, I chose this as a path, so I'm at peace. I have to be okay with the amount of time that it takes.
I see what other artists do, like sculpture that's like rusted metal and it's all funky and it's cool, and I really like it, but it's not for me. I'm really big on color. Color's really big, and nature, but I also like fairly simple design. I don't like anything too complicated. We were doing some renovations with our yard, and it's a very kind of simple backdrop, and I wanted some art that would look like art that I could hang inside that would be durable enough to hang outside, that could hold up to the elements. That turned out to be metal and house paint. The philosophy of what I do is inspired by this William Morris quote: "Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful."
You know, the thing about art is there's nobody telling you what to do. And you don't have to tell people what to do. You're just kind of left alone, and you just do what you feel like doing. That's the only reason to do it. I'm just fascinated by everything. Everything interests me. My work, it's always done over a long period of time. These cast paper pieces take 3 months. And see, it picks up a nice pattern. I do an hour of this a day, an hour of that a day. I got like 5 projects going. One day I'm making the pulp, the next day it's drying. Same with pottery. I do pottery. You make the clay one day, then you make it. And next day you put the parts together, and it's just an ongoing process. It just goes around and around. And then after it sets up, then it pops off of the plaster, and you've got a nice little tile. It's a nice little way to work. And at night, instead of watching TV, I glazed pottery and listened to baseball. Okay, you're on this planet, you live your life, and then you die. It's nice to have a million things out there with your name on it that'll survive 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Some of these ceramics will last thousands of years. They know more Greek potters than they know Greek politicians. They live forever. It's just their name was on the bottom of a pot. There's just a human need to create. I think it's one of the most amazing things about being human is just that urge to create. And how many other creatures do that? None, really. It's been like a second mother, you know. It's sheltered me and taken care of me, and it's nice to have a place like this, I'll tell you.
Open studio. I like open studio. It gives people a chance to see my art in the setting in my yard, how I came to do this type of art, and so it's a nice way to see it. It's also very interesting to see who shows up for open studio. It's kind of, you never know who's going to show up, so I like that.
It's like the only opportunity, I think, in Tucson to let the public become part of the process of the art. Every time I have an open studio tour, people end up bringing me material. Like, I have all of these screws that I've been holding on to forever, and so they want to get involved in the art in their own way.
Most artists, their studios are trashed. They, work by themselves. One weekend out of the year, they clean up, they shave, they put on good, decent clothes, they spend a little money for a bottle of wine, they buy some cookies. I make my cookies, so that's worth coming just for the cookies. That's the only time they'll open their studio. They never do it the rest of the year, so it's kind of a special thing. I wish I could go on the tour myself.
You can visit these artist studios and many more on Saturday and Sunday, May 21st and 22nd. Find artist information and a detailed map of all the studios on the tour at TucsonOpenStudios.com. And we have everything you need to know on the Arizona Public Media Facebook page. Be sure to like us when you're there. Why was a small section of a 53-square-foot rectangle of linen venerated by millions of Christians as the actual burial garment of Jesus Christ brought to the University of Arizona? Let's find out in this week's From the Vault.
It's known as the Shroud of Turin, or the Holy Shroud, and according to some Christians, it is the image of Jesus of Nazareth, miraculously preserved on the linen which wrapped his body following his crucifixion. But many questions surround the Shroud of Turin. Most importantly, where it came from and how old it is.
The shroud we are talking about appears in Léry, France about 1354. So we have a specific dating from that time to this point in time. However, going backwards, it becomes a little difficult because we have no actual proof other than writings that state a shroud existed.
To help settle the question of the age of the shroud, it will be radiocarbon dated. Before the conference began, Dr. Paul Damon spoke with me about some linen from 2500 BC that he's been testing using the University of Arizona's Tandem Accelerator Mass Spectrometer, or TAMS. And this technology may help prove the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin.
So that if we can get past the medieval period, the 13th century period, and get us back into the, let's say, first 100 years, we would then have eliminated this possibility of a painting or a forgery of medieval times.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. Next week, the crested saguaro and the people who love them. Riding bucking horses for a living and for the love of it. Hitting bottom and making your way back. And Hollywood's major leaguers in Tucson in 1988. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.